So the idea is that I'm not trying to get into a debate here, and I'm not trying to resolve this age-old feud of men being from Mars and women being from Venus. The idea being that there's this established belief that there are so many differences that it's almost perceived that men and women are like two different species. The idea is to actually look at identity, acknowledge that there are differences, and understand where these differences stem from. So I'll tell you how I landed up with this topic. I definitely did try to read that book, Men Are From Venus and Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by Dr. John Gray. So that book is primarily like a classic guide to understanding the opposite gender. So Dr. Gray provides a very practical and proven way for men and women to improve their communications by acknowledging the differences between their needs, desires, behaviors. So it happens to be a bestseller, but I sort of could not wade through even the half of the book. And so I decided that I'll do my own bit of research and figure out where these differences ideally stem from. So for starters, maybe we should just acknowledge that there are differences, because there have been so many studies which found that there are differences. Some stereotypical differences that we have also come across, maybe, or we believe internally, or we have seen across many of the males or females, or us, or the males in our lives. We've seen that men in general are more assertive, they are more risk-taking. Women are generally high on extroversion, anxiety, trust, nurturance, and it's a very long list, and we all have our fair share of perspectives towards it. So the first exercise may be to accept that there are differences. On this note, I would like to run a small poll. So if you guys can see on your screen, I'm just about to launch a poll. There are 4 statements, and I would request all of you to place your just a yes, no, or neutral. You just get to choose it. We'll run the poll for the next 2 minutes. So please start voting. Right now, I just feel like when Amitabh Bachchan, "Aapka time shuru hota hai ab."
It says can't vote.
Yeah. So the panelists cannot participate.
Wow.
Oh,
Shayeri have
biased.
taken away our voting rights.
I
So
want
we're
my
all-
franchise.
We are all below 18, I think, then that way.
I think this is safer this way. The panelists don't get to vote. It's safer. Panelists, if you have any opinions, please feel free to just chip in on chat.
Cholbe na.
So I came across this very funny, it was a little thing that I was reading. So there was this patient in a hospital, and he was having some major brain surgery. So the doctor calls all his relatives and tells them that, we need a brain transplant. So the family is like, and they're asking how much will it cost? And it's a very expensive surgery. So how much will it cost? So he said that we just have to get 2 brains. Either it can be a male brain or a female brain. And the male brain costs $500,000 and the female brain costs $200,000. So some of the elderly relatives, they're nodding their head. They're like, yeah, understandable. Some of the young ones are shocked. So one girl calls out saying that, why is the female brain $200,000? And the doctor says that, ma'am, that's standard practice. So female brains are a lot more used. So that's depreciation cost taken. So, yeah.
There's another version to this. I will not go there right now, but there's another version.
Please go ahead.
They also say that they are rarer to find, and which is why they are more expensive. That's the joke part. That's just the joke part.
Okay. So I've decided that throughout this talk, I will steer clear of controversy. So I will not pass any such comments like what Dhruvam did just now.
Okay, I've given my vote on the chat, so maybe all panelists can put in their thoughts just as 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you feel.
So another idea, Shayeri, if you're ending this poll, we can relaunch it once again and maybe give 30 seconds. All the panelists could also kind of vote.
Oh, is that possible? Cool then. I think we have a fair share of votes. We'll just end the poll for our attendees.
And we can share the results as of now if you want.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we can launch it again.
So guys, drum roll. Here are the results. Women are better at multitasking, 79%. High five. Men are better drivers, 53%. I'm liking that there's not much deviation from the neutral no and yes. Okay, no is 11%. Anyway, men gossip lesser than women. This is such a lie. Okay, sorry, I'm not supposed to place opinions.
Yeah, it's a lie.
47% have voted that men gossip lesser than women. Okay, and women communicate better than men. Neutral is 42%. Yes is 10%. Again, no questions asked. HR won't be going after your lives. Have the panelists also started voting, or
You're on mute, Sushumna.
We'll have to reshare it, Shayeri.
okay.
And if people want to vote, they can go ahead and vote it.
Okay, cool.
I'm relaunching it. Yes. Okay. We can continue as they vote, Shayeri. You can continue.
Cool. So are we also checking messages? Anyway, I'll come back to it. Okay, coming back to the presentation, I think we've understood what in general people think, so we'll not get into it. So, yeah. So this is a very popular clip. I'm sure that many of you must have already seen this. So this is this man gives a very funny. He has a very funny take on how women's brains operate, and men's brains operate. I think we'll just all go through it together and have a good laugh. Again, it's all subjective. I'm so sorry.
Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right. Now, men's brains.
Shayeri, you have to present your screen. You're not able to view your screen.
You can view my screen?
No,
we can only hear the audio.
Ah, okay. I think I have to select the entire.
As Shayeri is figuring out, let me just share the results on the screen with regards to what the panelists have to vote. We see about 83% where they say that women are better at multitasking, men are better drivers, 63%. Men gossip lesser than women, yes, 50%. Women communicate better than men, quite close by, and we have some no as well with regards to neutral and yes. So that's the score right now. Back to you, Shayeri.
Okay. Again, no questions asked. No one's judging you guys.
Little boxes.
Can you guys see now?
And we have a discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right. Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car, we've got a box for the money, we've got a box for the job, we've got a box for you, we've got a box for the kids, we've got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box, we pull that box out, we open the box, we discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. Money's connected to the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. It's like... It's like the internet superhighway, okay? And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. Women tend to care about everything. And she just loves it. Okay? Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that and watched the brain activity, and then all of a sudden, I think he's dead. Huh? You know, women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing nothing.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, coming back. So again, this was a very hilarious take, and I think I totally agree with this man. But let's just get into some biases that I think they are biases, and you guys are all entitled to having your own opinion. What I will place in lieu of each of these biases are a few facts which have been experimentally or scientifically proven. So if anyone has an opinion, you can just raise your hand, or if you have to step in and say something, you're most welcome. Men are funnier than women. Any opinion? Anyone wants to share anything that you consider that men are funnier than women, or women in general?
No.
No.
You can type with your responses. I have Ali Khan Mo who wants to speak. Do you want to talk to anybody, Shayeri? Do we let?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Perhaps the very first person whose name is Ali Khan Mo allowed to speak. All right.
Hi, Ali.
You can unmute yourself to speak, Ali.
I think Ali is speechless. after this.
All right. I'll move to the next person. This is Anil. Over to you, Anil. You could speak.
Do they know how to unmute themselves? Like, do they have to go to that participant?
It's just on the screen.
On the screen? Okay.
I can also unmute them. So
yeah, just unmute.
Hi.
Yes.
I think I got it. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I'm glad. So the question was, men are funnier than women. I would say yes, because we have got good sense of humor, and we are able to keep women happy since the college days till we get older. That's why women say don't get into trap of a kind of jolly guy who makes you happy and takes you married. Who takes you into a marriage. Kind of joke is there.
I have
Till
a
the
point
joke is over, you become his wife.
yeah. Agreed. So, were you successful with your humor?
I don't know
Ali?
how to meet. Okay, yeah.
Were you
Sorry, come
successful in
again?
life with your humor? Did this work for you in your life? Did humor work in
it
your
did
life?
work for me in my life.
Wonderful.
It is working in my life as well.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife is happy.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
We have some interesting comments as well. Most stand-up comedians are men across the globe. Jerome says, disagree, Phoebe is the best. Bhargav, not really. It's not gender specific. Kapil Sharma is a sham to comedians. Okay, and then women are careful. That's why men are funny as long as women in the front wants him to be. So yeah, I guess interesting perspectives. Anil, if you'd like to speak, or do we move ahead, Shayeri?
Yeah, I mean, if Anil has something to say, otherwise I can just move ahead with my.
Anil, I've unmuted you if you'd like to speak.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Anil. We can hear you.
No, please move on. There's nothing. Thank you.
Okay. So I won't get into narrowing down on whether men are funnier than women. So there was this one experiment which was conducted for a group of people with a mix of men and women, and they were given some cartoons for which they were supposed to come up with captions. And those captions were judged by an independent group of judges who were oblivious of whether the gender of the participant was a male or a female. And so the results were this, that of all the captions which were considered funnier, men scored higher, happy men out there, but the deviation of how much men scored higher in terms of their captions than women was was very insignificant. So it was inconclusive to actually narrow down whether men are funnier than women or not. Of course, there are a lot of cultural implications, and something that the point which was just raised, that men have this tendency to make women laugh. So this is something that has been happening through for ages actually, and apparently humor has a very large role to play in human mating. So if you look at it, women are the pickier gender, right? So humor is considered to be is like directly correlated to higher intelligence. So apparently women are in general subconsciously look for men who make them laugh, and men in general try to they work harder to make women laugh, because that sort of implies that they are more intelligent. And given this, actually there were some studies on this as well, which have which have shown that in a group of men and women, when for the funnier males, right, they actually tend to impress other males more than women, because the other males find them that, oh my god, this guy is so intelligent, and more than the how much the women are impressed. But yeah, evolution actually shows that this has played a constant role, wherein partners are chosen in, this has been statistically proven as well, that women seek men who make them laugh, and men try to seek women who laugh at their jokes the hardest. Again, no opinions placed. So this is one more bias. I don't know whether it's a bias or not. Um, the toys of the two for the two genders are different. So is it something that you feel that it's a gender thing, or is it a cultural thing? Uh, any opinions on this? Anyone would want to place any opinion?
Please use the chat, people. You can say yes, no. Is it different?
Let's see. Wow. Okay, so we are seeing a lot of answers here. True, even food proves it's in terms of Kinder Joy. I don't know if Kinder Joy has male or female differences.
There is
Not
a separate
different.
package for boys and for girls.
Yes, agreed. It's how we condition kids. Okay, so I'll just quickly narrow down on what psychology has to say about this. How do I remove this? Oops. Yeah. So so actually, if you look at infants, right? So infant male brains, they actually can identify structural objects at a much earlier stage than infant female brains. So that is why they tend to stare at fans, or they tend to look at rotation objects, because they can spatially rotate objects better than female brains. And female brains, they at an earlier stage than male brains, they tend to identify faces more easily. So because of that, they have a tendency to pick up dolls, or they have a tendency to identify people earlier. Basis this, it can be said that that is why maybe a male boy is picking up a certain kind of toy, or a female child is picking up a certain kind of toy. The conditioning actually enters our heads when when adults take down children in a toy shop, and they lead them along aisles saying that this is where you should pick your toys from, or lead them tell girls that this is what your toys should be like. That's when the conditioning is actually stepping in. So it's actually, we cannot really say that primarily the toys are different because of a certain brain structure or a certain biological difference. um, yeah, but again, that's a perspective thing. You may say that if infants are choosing, then probably it is, but there is no study which can narrow down on this. Moving to the next slide. Okay. Colors: pink or blue, cricket or badminton. I think I'll just directly get on to how this stemmed from, where this difference comes in from. So pink or blue is largely a marketing gimmick. Blue actually, so we always have this tendency to believe. I think this is no longer valid, because I've seen so many men flaunting in pink, and they look so handsome. So I don't think this is valid anymore. However, it still exists. So we tend to believe that blue is for boys and pink is for girls. But these gender norms do not really reflect a biological difference. So, in June 1918, there was this one issue of a magazine, a trade magazine for baby clothes manufacturers, called Infants Department. So they actually placed one statement saying that there has been a great diversity of opinion on this subject, but at that point of time, it was an accepted rule that pink is for the boy and blue is for the girl. So the reason was that pink was a more decided and stronger color, so it resonated more with men. And blue was a more daintier, prettier color, so it resonated more with women. And it was actually post World War that marketing started pushing the colors to the reverse genders, and this actually started gelling in with the masses after 80s. So I don't think this even counts. Then sports. Bias towards sports, in terms of gender, I think is a very Indian thing rather than a global phenomenon. I mean, it still is, because I mean, how many how many parents have you seen pushing their kids to play cricket rather than the number of boys who are pushed to play cricket? And I think that's also because our culture has more inclination, or the kind of recognition that is given to sports players who are males in the cricket domain, versus say if you look at Virat Kohli or Mithila Raj. Mithila Raj also has the 200 record to her name, but how many of us are even aware of it? Or the fact that the kind of brand endorsements that a Virat Kohli would get rather than a Mithila Raj. So I think this is more of our country specific bias. If you look some large perceptions, again, studies sort of prove that there are many opinions. Again, this is a general opinion, that for team sports, people prefer seeing men in team sports because it's more agile, more strong, versus in sports like athletics or gymnastics or even swimming. Women are considered equally, watching women play or perform is equally interesting. Again, this is opinion. We also have data which says that in 2019 FIFA World Cup football for females had a 22% higher viewership in the US rather than 2018 men's finals. So I can't narrow down anything from this as well. Now, coming to understanding differences in the brain. Okay, this is a little technical, but there was this one study in 2018, which was perhaps had the largest sample set, looked at the brains of around 3,000 females and 2,500 males. And they did find that there are a lot of anatomical differences, which were statistically significant. So if you look at it on an average, male brains tend to have slightly higher total brain volume. So if the males are currently thinking in their heads, I knew it, then here's to tell you that female brains have thicker cortices. Cortices are the parts with the grooves and the lines on top. So, and cortices definitely, thicker cortices have been associated with higher scores of a variety of general intelligence and cognitive intelligence tests. Meanwhile, men had higher brain volumes than women in every subcortical region. So subcortical primarily would have the parts which are like hippocampus, amygdala, um, thalamus. And these are also associated with different parts of cognition, different parts of memory, different parts of spatial understanding. So I won't get into the details of it. It was just to prove that, yes, there are anatomical differences. Now, this is, narrowing down on what my take is. And I'm just resonating with one book by one professor from a Melbourne university called Cordelia Fine. So I'll come to it. So actually, brain scientists have noticed, so actually there's a lot of growing number of scientists who feel that this entire study of differences in in the gender is actually not scientific, and they're calling it a pseudoscience. It's being termed as Neuro Sexism. In fact, there are no major neurological differences and between the sexes. So this has been extensively covered in the book that I'm talking about. The book is called Delusions of Gender. And while there are certain differences, variations in the brains of men and women, this is something that the author claims that the brains are not hardwired; they are soft. So primarily, all brains are flexible, malleable, and changeable. So in lieu of that, it can be said that our intellects are not prisoners to any gender or any gene, and those who claim otherwise, they're just merely quoting old-fashioned stereotypes with a veneer of scientific credibility. I think it's becoming a little heavy, so I'll just proceed to one video which we had shot So this is one talk which I also gave in our Raheja office. And at that point of time, we had shot one video asking questions to everyone in office. So I just captured some snippets and I want to share this video with you. It's really funny. Is it visible, audible? 3 things that you feel that men are better off than women at work.
There's nothing that we are better at.
Okay. 3 things that women are better at than men.
Organizing. Okay, timekeeping. What else? Hygiene.
If it's a physical work, if it's a factory or anything, they are more physically better than women. Other than that, I think women have more brain cells and they are better in workplaces like these than men.
Why?
I feel so. Because I'm a woman, that's why I have to be diplomatic. Hey, why does it have to be something like that?
That's what I'm asking. Like, why is this question at all?
It's more logical. No, a little more. I think they prioritize if they're straightforward, it's good.
3 things that you feel men are better off at than women at workplaces.
Flexibility in working hours. Taking criticism. But I think I'm answering all the wrong stuff.
How difficult is it to make women understand finance versus men understand finance?
Men's, because all men's are thought same.
So it's easier to explain to men.
Yes, easy to convey to men.
How do women handle conflict?
Logically.
That's very difficult. And I don't think the books are good to handle it.
Men are more casual.
Yeah.
Women are
Formal.
benefits of working with women.
I don't have any problem. I like working with them.
I don't know how audible that was, but yeah. So yeah, that was my session. I think I'm done with all the things that I wanted to cover. This is an endless topic. If anyone, we can just open it out for discussion. If anyone wants to discuss anything or have any comments, any opinions, please feel free.
Shayeri, we have Jyotsna who has raised her hand, and Jyotsna, over to you if you have any questions, anything that you want to ask.
This is regarding the finance aspect. I think it's genetic because my dad is great at it. Okay, planning. I mean, he plans like 20-30 years ahead, and my sister is exactly like that. So I don't think it has anything to do with gender, and I'm not that way. So I think some things are genetic, is what I feel.
Sure, perfect. Maybe I absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay. Anybody from the panelists team, anything that you want to share? Anything that you had thoughts on when we were going through these facts versus fiction? We have Divya who wants to speak. So let me just unmute her. Over to you, Divya. I guess it's not. Anything else, Shayeri? Anybody else?
So I think there's So I think from the messages, men and women need each other. One cannot survive without the other. Drops mic. Anyway, again, this is I think a long conversation which is never ending. So it was fun sharing my perspectives with you guys. If we have anything more to share, then please feel free to just drop in a chat or share a mail or whatever. We can have a conversation.